Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 4 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine today. In this issue we got our first 4 base paints. We have Retributor Armour, Cantor Blue, Auroch Flesh and Leadbelcher, which we'll be applying to our models in our first painting guide. And then we'll be playing our biggest battle yet. Having a look through the issue first. First up we have some background lore on Skyheld. This is a city of Sigmar, which I believe was made up for this magazine. So this is hidden deep in the mountains of Ramhut's Spine on the Realm of Beasts. And core part of the city is a vast library, which is protected from the elements. Unfortunately, the rest of the city is not, so the inhabitants have to rebuild their homes occasionally due to the natural disasters caused by Gur's rampaging weather systems. And obviously this city is incredibly important for the vast droves of knowledge buried deep inside it, so it is an important place for the forces of order to keep hold of. And it's also the home of the Iron Thanes, the storm host that was made up for this magazine. And it mentions how they use the weather to their advantage. They lure enemies into the blizzards and treacherous ice fields around Skyheld, and then descend upon their foe once they've been exhausted. And obviously, many of the evil forces of the setting of Age of Sigmar covet the knowledge held within Skyheld, including the Gloomspike Gits of the Hollow Skulls. No doubt we'll be seeing them in the future. And a little pop-up in the middle there saying how we'll get to paint some Iron Thanes in the future, but for now we'll be painting the gold-coloured Hammers of Sigmar. Obviously the hostile terrain means it's quite hard for people to survive in it, so the inhabitants of Skyheld are relying on what are called the Dawnbringer Crusades to fight back the rampaging wilderness and the dangerous creatures and bring supplies to the city. And now we get into our first painting guide. So it shows all of the sort of equipment you'll need, although you'll probably want something to cover your work surface as well, just so you don't get any paint on it. And obviously you want somewhere with a decent amount of light as well, so you can see what you're doing. And I'm not sure how much you would get with the subscription. You might get the paint palette and a water pot, but you can just use a mug or a bit of plate or a ceramic tile or something instead. And you can see the paintbrushes we'll be getting with the magazine. I believe you might get some more with the subscription as well. But we only have the starter brush for now. And often when you're starting with paints, you'll start with a base coat. So we'll be using Retributor Armour for the Stormcast and Auroch Flesh for the Kruleboyz. So what you'll do is you start by giving your paint pot a good shake and then getting some of it on your brush, wiping off any excess on a bit of tissue paper or the paint palette so you don't overload the brush. And then you start by applying thin coats. So it's always better to go with multiple thin coats than one thick coat because you can clog up the detail, and it's much easier to add paint than it is to take it away. So you can see you're building up multiple coats of gold into a solid coat there for the Stormcast, and the same with the Auroch Flesh for the Kruleboyz. And always make sure to leave each coat to dry. It takes about 5 minutes or so for each coat to dry before you start painting another one over it. And also make sure that your paint pots are firmly closed so you don't accidentally spill any when you come to shake them next time you use them. And there's also a little tip there about not painting paints too thickly around the Night Arcanum's feet or the Kruleboyz's feet, so it makes it a little bit easier to get them off the base so you can paint the little bits of terrain around their feet. So now we've finished the undercoat, not the base coat, we can start base coating some other colours. So we have Cantor Blue and Leadbelcher for the Stormcast. Well, no, there's a little bit here about thinning your paints down. Again, that's your thinning them down to create the multiple thin coats. And obviously the Cantor Blue is for all the blue areas, so that's the various bits of cloth and the shoulder pads and the shields of the Vindictors. And then the Leadbelcher is for any of the metal parts. So you have the spears for the Vindictors, parts of the banner, and there's also some scale armour as well, and some bits of the Night Arcanum staff. And don't worry too much about it. If it looks messy, you can go back and tidy it up, or you'll probably be painting over these parts later anyway. And for the Kruleboyz, we only need to base coat the metal parts of the Leadbelcher, although there are a bit more, so any of the spear tips and bits of metal armour on them. But there is also a dead Stormcast on the base of the Kruleboyz, so you might find it easier to take him off the base and then paint the Stormcast in the same way as the living ones. And so you can see the painted Kruleboyz up to this point. And with all that over, I'll hand you over to Will where we can learn some more of the combat rules.
So in this issue we learn 2 more rules for Rend and Damage, which are both characteristics of attacks. Rend is a modifier to a unit's save roll, so basically some attacks are better at cutting through armour than others, and thus they might have some Rend, which will adjust the rolls. So in this case you can see these Gut Rippers have a Rend of dash, which means that they don't have any, but the Knight Arcanum has Rend of -1, which modifies all the Gut Rippers' save rolls by -1, so this 5 that's been rolled is reduced to a 4 when attacked by the Knight Arcanum. And damage is just that, how much damage an attack does. So the Vindictors have only damage 1, and that means that they only reduce wounds characteristics by 1 for each successful attack. But the Killer Boss, Stabgrot, for his Boss Hacker, has damage of 2, so it will do 2 wounds of damage each time. And so you can see on the next page there are now 2 new steps in our attack sequence, making save rolls with Rend and damage, and how to use wound markers with that. You either put 2 wound markers on, or as we do in our case, deduct the number of wounds equal to the damage characteristic. And that does spill over as well. If the models have multiple wounds, like the Gut Rippers or the Vindictors, it can kill one model and then spill over onto the next one. And so we have our next tutorial game, in which after the opening clashes in the first few issues, both sides have brought all their warriors to bear to try and force a decisive engagement. So we have much the same setup as last time, except this time we're using all 5 Vindictors and all 10 Gut Rippers. And they start opposite the Killer Boss and Stabgrot and the Knight Arcanum respectively, and then once again we'll be moving into the central part of the board and fighting like this, although again if one side kills the other then they don't get to join in the other fight. In this game the Gut Rippers get to attack first, and there's been an addition to their War Scroll for their Rend and Damage. Their Rend is dash as we saw, and they only do damage 1, so the Knight Arcanum will be making save rolls at the full 3+, and only taking 1 damage for each failed save. The Knight Arcanum then gets to hit back, and she has a Rend of -1 and D3 damage. So every time a wound gets through from her attacks, you roll a D3 and it does that much damage to the Gut Rippers. And it's also worth noting that in this game she wounds on 3s. I'm fairly sure she wounded on 4s in the previous issue, but that's what it says here, so that's what we'll go with for now. And the Killer Boss has Rend and Damage for both of his attacks. His Boss Hacker is a Rend of -1 and 2 damage for each hit, but the Stabgrot's Prized Shiv has no Rend and only does 1 damage. And finally the Vindictors get to attack, and they have a Rend -1 and 1 damage per attack. So hopefully all of that will become nice and clear as we play through our game, so we'll set up the board and get straight to it. So here's our battle map laid out with models as positioned in the picture. We've got the Vindictors facing off against the Killer Boss and Stabgrot, and then the Knight Arcanum Borea Starfang facing off against the Gut Rippers. And now we've moved all the models into the central circles and they get to fight, starting with the Gut Rippers.
So all 10 of the Gut Rippers, all 10 of the Storm Chasers, led by Murkai, can crowd around the Knight Arcanum and get 20 attacks. Looking for 4s. That was 15 hits, so they're doing well so far. Looking for 4s to wound again. So there's 9 wounds in total.
So she has 9 3+ saves to make, but they have no Rend and they only do 1 damage. So each failed one of these will be 1 wound taken. But she's failed 5 and she only has 6 wounds, so she's down to 1 left. So yeah, as usual we'll mark that with the dice, showing the number of wounds she has left, which is 1. Then she gets to strike back. She has 3 attacks that hit on 3s. Well, they all hit. This issue they wound on 3s as well. 2 wounds. Now she has a Rend of -1.
Yeah, so I'm looking for 6s now, because the Gut Rippers have a 5+ normally, so I need to roll a 6. No, so 2 wounds go through. These are D3 damage each.
So I'll roll 2d3 and add them up. Oh, well, the double 6 means 2 3s, so she actually does 6 damage and kills 3 Gut Rippers. So not bad, but she's still quite heavily outnumbered. And now we move over to Morlek the Killer Boss and his trusty Stabgrot.
So 4 attacks with Morlek's Boss Hacker on 3s. They all hit. And wounding on 3s. They all wound.
These also have a Rend of -1, and the Vindictors have a 3+ save base, so looking for 4s. Failed only 1, but it does do 2 damage, so that will do 2 wounds and kill a Vindictor.
And then Kneebite's got 3 attacks with his Shiv on looking for 4s, getting a single hit. Wounding on a 4, no.
Then now Lyria's Guardians, the Vindictors, get to hit back, but one's dead, so only 2 attacks each means 8 attacks hitting on 3s. We get 5 hits that also wound on 3s. Oh, well, 5 wounds. These have a Rend of -1 and do 1 damage.
Yep, so Morlek's 3+ goes to a 4+. He made 3 saves, so he takes 2 wounds, down to 4.
So that's where we are after the first round of combat, and we're back to the Gut Rippers.
So with 3 dead Storm Chasers, there's only 7 left, so 14 attacks looking for 4s. Only 5 hits this time, and again looking for 4s, just a single wound out of all of that.
Yeah, but she does have to pass this 3+ save. She did, so she's still alive. 3 attacks back on 3s, hitting 2, which wound on 3s as well. Just the 1.
6. That's cocked, so I'll re-roll it. No.
Another D3 damage. 2 this time, kills another Storm Chaser.
And around to Morlek. 4 attacks with the boss hacker on 3s, getting 3. And 3s to wound, getting 2.
2 more 4+ saves reduced. Oh, made both.
And Knee Biter, getting a hit, doesn't wound.
So the Guardians still have 8 attacks back, hitting on 3s. Only 4 hits, wounding on 3s. Just 1.
4+ save, made it.
So just a dead Gut Ripper in that turn. Back to the Storm Chasers again.
12 attacks on Berea, looking for 4s. 7 hits, looking for 4s to wound. That's a bit better, there's 4 wounds this time.
Needs to pass all of her 3+ saves. No, she failed 1, so with only 1 wound left, she's dead. So the Kruleboyz have won 1 engagement, so now we're on to Morlek again.
Yeah, so 4 attacks with the boss hacker on 3s, getting 3 hits. 3s to wound, getting 2 wounds again.
2 4+ saves. Failed 1, so that kills another Vindictor.
And can Knee Biter get a wound? No, can't even hit this time.
3 Vindictors left, so 6 attacks on 3s. Got 2, wounding on 3s. 1.
Morlek's 3+ goes to a 4+. He fell this time, down to 3 wounds.
So the victorious Gut Rippers can only look on as Morlek fights against the Vindictors.
Yeah, they're cheering on their boss, or perhaps Murkai secretly hopes he'll lose so he can be in charge instead.
But Morlek gets to hit first.
4 attacks, looking for 3s, getting 3. And 3s to wound. 3 wounds.
3 saves. Oh dear, failed 2, so that's just going to leave Lyria left by herself.
And Knee Biter gets a hit, doesn't wound. He's remarkably consistent.
So just Lyria left, she has 2 attacks, which hit on 3s, so she hit once, and wounds on a 3. Note, that did not wound, so we're straight back to Morlek.
Getting 3 hits once again. 3s to wound. Getting 2 wounds.
So she has to pass both saves. Oh, she does.
Can Knee Biter finish her off, getting a single hit once again. That doesn't wound.
So she gets another go. She hits twice this time, wounding on 3s. Oh, 2 wounds.
4s. All fell both. Morlek's down to 1. Might be seeing a new boss in charge. 4 attacks, getting 2 hits, and 3s, getting 1 wound.
4+. Oh, no, Lyria goes down. So the Kruleboyz have won both engagements in this game, so we'll read you the little conclusion. And so with the Kruleboyz' victory, through cunning, strength and weight of numbers, the Kruleboyz have turned the tables on the Stormcast Eternals and slain them. However, the Immortal Warriors will return for revenge before long, and they'll get that chance right now, because we'll might as well set it up again and let the Stormcast go first this time. So we'll have another go, but this time, well, we'll let Berea fight first against the Gut Rippers and the Vindictors first against Morlek. So Berea for Starfang has 3 attacks, which hit on 3s. They all hit, and again they wound on 3s. Oh, well, nothing at all.
20 attacks from Murkai and the Storm Chasers. Looking for 4s, so that'll be 11 hits. And looking for 4s to wound. 5 wounds.
5 3+ saves. Failed 2, she's down to 4 wounds. Slightly better start than last time. So now all 10 of Lyria's Guardians, the Vindictors. So now all 10 of Lyria's Guardians will get to attack Morlek. On 3s. Ooh, 9 hits. And wounding on 3s as well. That's 5 wounds.
5 saves from Morlek, looking for 4s. He's made 3, he's also down to 4. And Morlek's hit backs, looking for 3s, getting 3. And 3s to wound, getting 3.
3 4+ saves. Oh, failed 2, kills 2 Vindictors.
And we've got Knee Biter, missed entirely.
Back to Berea Starfang on 3s. Yeah, she hit twice.
Give you that one.
And she wounded twice.
Looking for 6s. No.
2d3 damage. Oh, 6 again. Kills 3.
14 attacks from the 7 remaining Gut Rippers, looking for 4s. Only 6 hits this time, once again looking for 4s, getting 2 wounds.
2 saves on 3+. Oh, no, she takes another wound. She's down 3. The 3 remaining Vindictors on Morlek. 3s. 4. Wounding on 3s. 4.
4+ saves. Oh, he made 3. Down to 3 wounds as well. 4 attacks with his boss hacker. They get all 4 hits. And 3s to wound, only getting 2.
2 4+ saves. All failed both though, so down to just Lyria herself left again.
And Knee Biter. Oh, 2 hits. He's figured out the sharp end of his shiv. Oh, 2 wounds. Come on, Knee Biter.
He has no rend though, so 3+ saves. Oh, he does a wound. He actually brings Lyria down to 1 left. So Knee Biter making all the difference there. Well, sort of. And we're back to Berea Starfang. Hitting on 3s. 2 hits, wounding on 3s. 2.
Oh, we got a 6.
So only 1 goes through, which does D3 damage. 2, so it kills another.
12 attacks from the Gut Rippers, getting 6 hits, 4 to wound, getting 3 wounds.
3 3+s, she made them all this time. And Lyria missed once, so she only hits once and doesn't wound.
Morlek goes first with his Boss Hacker, getting 3 hits and 2 wounds.
Got to pass both saves to live. Oh, she did.
Oh, come on, Knee Biter, finish the job. Got a hit. Oh, didn't wound.
Back to the Knight Arcanum. She hits twice and wounds once.
Oh, didn't save.
D3 damage, 3. So she kills 1 and another one will be down to 1 damage. 1 wound remaining.
10 attacks from the remaining Storm Chasers, getting 5 hits and 4 to wound, getting 3 wounds.
Saves. Oh, failed 2. She's down to 1 wound left. Lyria's 2 attacks. She hits once and wounds on 3, yes.
4 plus for Morlek. Oh, he takes a wound down to 2. 4 attacks with the Boss Hacker. Oh, he missed! Come on, Knee Biter. The hero we need. 1 hit. Wounds.
3+ save. Oh, no, not to beat. So Brea's on 1 wound, but she attacks, or she only hits once and doesn't wound.
10 attacks back at her. 5 hits once again. And 3 wounds.
3 saves once again. Oh, she failed one, so she dies again. So the Kruleboyz are now guaranteed at least a draw, although say they took slightly more damage on the Gut Rippers than last time. Can Lyria finish off Morlek? 2 attacks on 3s, she only hit once, so she's not killing him this round, or she didn't wound anyway.
Hopefully nobody saw Morlek whiff last turn. Yeah, you got 4 hits this time. 3s to wound, getting 2.
2 saves, she failed one. So Lyria goes down again. And so leaving the Kruleboyz firmly in control of the field once again. So that'll be it for our games for this issue, so we'll give you all our thoughts and recap that for you now. So that was issue 4 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. What did you think of new rules and the games in that one?
I suppose I'm not too surprised to see the Kruleboyz win, especially the Gut Rippers. I think the Knight Arcanum really, even though they have a poor save, I think she just struggles to do enough damage to kill them before they can overwhelm her. And the fact that the boss is killing a Vindictor with every wound that goes through as well. I mean, I think the Knee Biter only did 1 wound across 2 games, so you clearly didn't need him. Although the Vindictors were fairly close, I suppose.
Yeah, the Vindictors one was closer, they having a better save and having more attacks. But yes, it's a lot of wounds for Baroa Starfang to get through of Gut Rippers, and they have plenty of attacks back, so she didn't roll that well for her saves at all times, but even so, just weighted numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, even the fact that they got to go first and took 5 wounds off her, and I rolled well for that, and you probably rolled poorly, but that's still, she's on the back foot straight away.
And she even actually had a slightly inflated roll to wound than she'd normally have as well. She should normally be winning on 4s, like she was in the previous issue. So.
And you can actually see her full war score on the previous issue as well, so it should be 4s.
Yeah, so she even had a slight buff for that game and still didn't manage to do very much damage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice to see all the models we have so far on the board in one go. More realistic scale games, at least. They're still very small. I mean, kind of hard to talk about. Rend is a modifier to save rolls. I mean, it's important. I suppose you could judge, or more powerful units have more Rend than weaker units.
Yeah, I suppose that's generally the case. It gives you a bit more differentiation between attacks as well, because, combined with damage, you'll have numerous infantry are more likely to have low Rend, low damage attacks, whereas big heroes and monsters and things will likely have fewer attacks, but that do more damage and have some Rend.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes you might have a weapon with multiple profiles that you have to choose one to use, and it will usually be many low damage, low Rend attacks, or few high damage, high Rend attacks.
Well, having all the models was something that we could do now that we have Rend and Damage, because actually I think with the rules we had in the previous issue, neither of the 2 heroes be able to overcome the whole unit.
Oh, it would take forever for... The Knight Arcanum would have no chance. It would take her absolutely forever to do 20 wounds worth of damage. It took her long enough to do 9.
I suppose it also shows
6.
I suppose it also shows that the Vindictors are slightly more elite than the Gut Rippers because they have a bit of Rend. There are other rules that they'll get that will make some more difference as well later, but just on a basic level.
Yeah, and just the fact that there's 5 of them in the unit is considered a unit compared to 10.
Yeah, and they have bigger bases as well, so generally a bigger base unit with fewer models will generally do more damage per attack as well. And then obviously we also learnt about painting in this issue.
Yes, obviously the models we use are fully painted. It's mostly just for the camera, so I will paint them slightly differently. Kind of disappointing. It even mentions in the lore bit that we'll be painting some Iron Thanes. I'm still disappointed that they still have you go mostly with Hammers of Sigmar. Also worth noting that you can get a spray of the gold colour, Retributor armour. Not sure if they do an Auric Flesh spray, although there is a Death Guard green one, which is fairly similar. Probably use that as the base coat instead of doing the 3 thin layers. Because I believe the sprays include a primer which helps the paint stick to the models, whereas the 3 thin layers, I don't know if you have problems with the paint rubbing off. But once again, it's just the intro to painting, and obviously you don't have to paint models if you try it and find you're not into it. It does take a fair amount of time. Even at this stage, probably take a little time to get used to it. And the starter brush is pretty low quality, though I suppose don't be too worried about if you happen to ruin it in that case.
And obviously they do look, if you're following the guide in the magazine, they do look quite basic at the moment. Or actually the Stormcast look more complete, just having the 3 colours on them rather than the 2 that the Oryx do. But this is the very first steps, and it will build up eventually to looking really to quite a decent standard by the time we've got all the colours and all the paints and techniques. So if you're new to painting, then it's probably a good introduction, I think.
Yeah, the other magazines certainly have been, so I have no reason to believe this magazine wouldn't.
And it's quite a good selection of paints as well. Actually getting 4 in one issue is quite a good saving. Well,
and it actually is a saving compared to getting only 1 or 2, so...
Yeah, and it sets you up with everything that in theory you should need to be painting to start with anyway. But anyway, I think that's all we have to say for this issue. So let us know what you think in the comments below. If you've played it, then let us know how you're getting on with the rules if you're new. If you enjoyed the video, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.